The story you've heard is simple. A few rats, a few fleas, a dirty medieval world getting what it deserved. But the real Black Death isn't a simple story. It's a crime scene spanning continents, a disaster that moved faster than anyone expected. A terror that didn't just kill people, it changed how humans think about God, power, money, work, and each other. And it starts with a moment so ordinary you'd miss it. A man wakes up before dawn somewhere in Europe in the mid-14th century. The air is cold and sharp. He eats what he has, maybe bread and broth, then steps outside to join the others. Dock workers, bakers, priests, apprentices. People follow routines that seem unchanging because that's how people get by believing tomorrow will come. By noon, he feels a cold that doesn't belong to the weather. By evening, the fever takes hold. His joints ache and his head pounds. And then the sign everyone will learn to fear. Swelling. Hard knots under the arm, the neck, the groin. Dark, painful bulges that make the body look like it's turning on itself. By morning, he's confused. By the next morning, he might be gone, not in weeks, in days. That speed is the first clue. A disease that kills this quickly doesn't just appear. It moves from place to place. It spreads through networks. It takes advantage of how people and goods are connected. So rewind. Not to Europe. Not yet. The Black Death didn't appear out of nowhere. It followed trade like a shadow. The late 1200s and early 1300s weren't as isolated as we imagine. During the Mongol Empire, large parts of Eurasia were connected by roads, horse relays, caravans, and ports. Goods traveled these routes. People traveled with them, including soldiers, pilgrims, and merchants. And among all this movement, invisible passengers traveled too. Today, most evidence points to Yersinia pestis. It can live quietly in rodent populations for long periods until something changes, like a shift in climate. Food becomes scarce. Animal hosts move to new places. A disease that once stayed contained suddenly finds new bodies and new roots. And the late 1200s into the early 1300s are full of stress. The climate cools into the early Little Ice Age. Wetter seasons, failed harvests, famine in parts of Europe, crowded towns, malnutrition. People and animals pressed closer together because survival demands it. That's the second clue. Plague is not just a germ, it's timing, environment, hunger. Pressure is building until something breaks. We can't give you a clean, patient zero. History rarely does, but we can follow the trail of a catastrophe becoming mobile. Picture a caravan crossing dry land, men wrapped against cold winds, animals loaded with sacks. Picture port cities where crates are dragged from ships and stacked in damp warehouses. Grain poured into bins, bedding shaken out. And in the middle of all those ordinary actions, fleas do what fleas do. Feed, breed, search for the next warm body. The horrifying part is that plague can wear many faces. In its bubonic form, fleas bite, bacteria enter the body, and lymph nodes swell into buboes. The process is brutal, sometimes so slow you can watch it happen. But plague can also become pneumonic, infecting the lungs. Then it doesn't need fleas. It spreads through the air, like coughs in crowded rooms or shared air in a church. Some historians argue that the Black Death's speed across Europe is more plausible if pneumonic spread played a significant role alongside flea-driven transmission. Either way, by the time Europe understands what's coming, it's already inside the system. The year is 1347. Ships arrive at Mediterranean ports. Messina is often named. Then Genoa, Venice, Marseille. They don't look like normal ships. Sailors stumble. Men collapse on deck. Bodies are found below. There's a specific terror in first contact with something you don't understand. Not dramatic. Human. A mother pulling her child closer. Officials are trying to look calm while their eyes betray them. Because once the rumor starts, once people believe sickness is moving through the streets, society changes before the disease even reaches your door. Windows shut, markets thin, strangers become threats. The plague moves inland along trade roads as if it has a map. It spreads across Italy, into France and Spain, north into England, and east into the German states. It crosses mountains and rivers, ignoring borders that matter to kings, but mean nothing to microbes. And it hits households like lightning, random, sudden, absolute. Here's what the simple summaries skip. It didn't just kill a third of Europe. It killed names, faces, specific lives. A father with cracked hands from work. A young woman learning to braid her hair like her mother. A monk copying texts by candlelight. A midwife who knows every secret in the street. Now picture a small home in a medieval town. Smoke rises from the hearth. Damp wool dries nearby. Someone coughs, then someone else. Fever comes, then swelling. Suddenly, the house is marked, if not by officials, then by neighbors. People stop knocking. Neighbors cross the street. Inside, the sick watch. The healthy turn into strangers. Medicine uses whatever is available. Bloodletting, herbs, aromatic smoke, and ideas about bad air are common. Some practices do nothing. Some help by accident. None is enough. There is no germ theory, no antibiotics, and no real understanding of what is happening. Often, the best advice becomes the cruelest instruction imaginable. Leave. But you can't always leave. You're poor. You have a job. You have children. You have a parent who can't walk. And even if you run, the roads are already infected. So people reach for explanations. Some throw themselves into religion, processions, prayers, public repentance, trying to bargain with an invisible enemy. Others decide God has abandoned them. Some indulge, eat, drink, spend, because the future feels like a lie. And in many places, fear turns into violence. Minorities, especially Jewish communities, are scapegoated, accused of poisoning wells, attacked and murdered. That is another truth of the Black Death. A plague doesn't invent cruelty. It reveals it. Fields are empty. Workshops are quiet. Whole villages vanish. And when labor becomes rare, labor becomes valuable. For peasants and workers who survive, scarcity gives them new power. Wages go up. Land becomes available. Old rules are questioned. Authorities try to push wages back down and return the world to what they see as normal. But normal is gone. And that tension between elites trying to bring back the old order and survivors realizing they are no longer replaceable pushes Europe toward change. This shift happens not because anyone planned it, but because the old system broke. At the same time, there's a psychological shift you can almost see. Art becomes filled with images of death. Skeletons appear in murals. Dance of death scenes become common. People focus on how quickly life can disappear. Not as a passing trend, but as trauma turned into symbols. Imagine living through it, watching your town lose half its people, hearing carts at night, and smelling lime, smoke, and sickness. Church bells ring until they stop, because there is no one left to ring them. And in the middle of that, realizing something that would shake any era. Authority can't protect you. Not the priest. not the doctor, not the lord, not the king. Status is thin armor when the air itself feels dangerous. For centuries, people described the Black Death as divine punishment or as a medieval horror locked in a less advanced world. But modern science has pulled pieces of it out of the ground, literally. Researchers have recovered Yersinia pestis DNA from plague graves, confirming what chroniclers could only guess. They have mapped how strains evolved and spread, showing how disaster can move through trade routes like blood through veins. So don't look back at the Black Death as a strange darkness from a distant world. Look at it as a mirror, a reminder that civilization is not permanent. It is something we renew every day through trust, care, and how we treat the vulnerable, even when fear tells us they do not matter. Because the Black Death didn't just kill tens of millions, it asked a question that still hangs in the air. When the world stops making sense, who do we become?